What's going on, guys? Welcome back. I hope everybody's doing good. So today I'm back in my garage and I'm gonna try to figure out this radiator issue that I got with my fitting. So as all you remember, if you watched previous videos, I had that funky loop going on where it basically did like a U shape before it went from the radiator to the engine. So I'm trying to get rid of that so it's a nice short section, and they'll both have AN fittings on both sides. So the reason it is the way it is right now, because when I was trying to get the car running and trying to get it tuned and all that stuff, I basically ran into an issue when everything went back together, that it was too close together and both AN fittings from the radiator side and an engine side that would overlap on top of each other, so there was no room. So what I'm going to try to do now is remove the front core support and see if I can get radiator pushed forward. I still have the condenser for the AC, so I have both of them sitting in front of each other. So I'm going to see if I can chop up the core support to move both of them forward so I can get a little bit of room so I can run at least a very short hose in between both fittings. So I need to get this removed and get it figured out what I'm gonna do. As I spoke before, I told you guys that the fans weren't doing this job, so I did order 2 new fans and I ended up getting a SPAL 14-inch fans this time. Both of them, well, each fan is 16 plus CFM, so I hope that's going to be enough for to cool this down. Currently I have the Mishimoto fans, which are 980 CFM a piece, and the new ones will be 16, I don't remember, 1625 or 1645 CFM a piece, something like that. So there should be here I think Wednesday next week. And then to get them fitted, I also am going to have to modify the front core support to get them in there because there's no room. I'm going to show you what I currently have right now, and the driver's side is a 12-inch fan and the passenger side is a 10-inch fan, and they're pretty tight. I did have to do some modifications where I had to chop a little bit of core support to get them fitted, but for the 14-inch fans I'm going to have to cut some more out. But anyway, one way or another I got to get them in there to make this work, so there's no ifs or buts about it. I'm going to have to do it. Here's what I have in now. So this is a 12-inch, which you see is pretty tight all the way around, and it goes down in there, and it's also pretty close to everything. I did have to chop a little bit here, a little bit there. Same thing goes for this guy. This is a 10-inch, and as you see, everything's pretty tight. So what I'm thinking of, I'm gonna move these horns over to this corner, and I'm gonna shorten this whole wire harness and hide it behind this core support, or maybe on the back side. We'll see how that works out, but something along those lines to get rid of this. And maybe when the fans come in and we actually test fit them, I might have to completely chop this middle off and probably cut it below the hood latch support, but we'll see. I'm not sure 100% about that, but that's basically how it's gonna look. Maybe I'm gonna have to modify a little bit here to get it some clearance, but again, until the fans are here, I'm not really sure what I have to cut. But for now, this is where this problem runs into. So basically, this loop was right over here, kind of went up and around and did one of these numbers. So I just want to have a nice 45 and a straight from here, and maybe have a small spot where the hose would connect so it looks nice and clean. And then maybe I'm going to be able to run like an intake manifold or an intake filter over here for my turbo. So that's basically the idea, what I'm going to try to do, and hopefully it works out. So I don't know how much I'm going to be able to shove this fan forward. I'm sorry, how much I'm going to be able to shove the radiator forward, but I'm thinking there should be at least an inch or so of room that I can push it forward. I might have to cut these and open this up a little bit to move it forward, and then hopefully I can get this neck all the way to the front, and maybe that's going to be enough room for me to do this, to make the two fittings meet each other. I also end up, this is the overflow can. I don't know if you guys saw previously, I had like a pretzel can installed in here. So I picked up one of these guys, and I'm gonna fit it right in here. So it's got two screw holes right over here. They'll thread it, and I think it's gonna live in this area. Something like that. I'm gonna have to also modify that a little bit. There's some bracketry back down in there. Back down in here that I might be able to cut up to hide this nice and tight in there and get it screwed in. And this guy, we're gonna end up cutting this nipple off right here, and we're gonna transfer it to this side, because this side is gonna sit right against the radiator, so there's no way I can get the hose in there hooked up. So we're basically gonna close this port off and get one hooked up on this side, so the overflow from the radiator can run right into the bottom of that. So let me go ahead and pull these headlights out, get this radiator removed, and we're gonna take a look what we got and what we're working with. My turbo did come back, and I'll update that in a little bit. And then there's a few other parts that I did order, so it should be pretty exciting of all the new stuff that's coming. But I'll talk about that later. Everything should be here next week, so I'm hoping once it arrives, I'll guys actually show you what's gonna happen. But I'm pretty pumped about that. But let's take a quick look at that. Let me get it removed, and we're gonna get started to see where we can figure it out. I went ahead and pulled the intercooler off, the bash bar, and also the fans. And here I just want to show you real quick what's going on here. So basically, I was just thinking how I'm gonna possibly mount the fans, and I might be able to, when I get this off, I see that we have, let me get a tape measure, and I'll show you what's the clearance that we got here. So basically, if I have about, I don't know, that's about a ½ inch of clearance that I still have between this core support and the condenser. But I'm thinking if I cut it right over here, right on this seam, I guess it's not a seam, just that piece that sticks up, and I'm gonna cut this all the way across right here and keep that kind of going all the way around and get rid of this bracket, not a bracket, whatever you want to call this. Get rid of all of this and then come around and chop right at the top where the hood latch sits. So the hood latch has 3 points, and 2 will be enough, you know, to be secure and not wobbling. So basically clear this whole area up a little bit, and maybe be able to move the radiator forward about an inch, hopefully more, and that way we can get this clearance. I'm not sure how big that fitting is. It's still on order. It should be here on Wednesday of next week, and obviously still gonna have to get it test fitted, but I believe once I get that in, I'm gonna be able to push all this forward and get the proper clearance that I'm gonna need. The goal is probably off season, when it's the winter comes around again, I do plan to do a tube front end on this. So chopping this up is really not going to affect anything. I'm just trying to get some clearance and get the proper cooling that I can right now. So if it doesn't look pretty, I'm not too worried about it, but I'm going to try to make it as neat as possible just for the time being. But once I go tube front end, we should have a lot more clearance for the air to move around here. So that should be real nice. But for now, let me go ahead and pop this front clip off and pull the radiator out of the core support so I can actually see what's going on the inside and go from there. Alright boys, so I've been doing some thinking over here off camera. I ended up pulling the front clip and just looking to see how it might work. So this is what I got. Let's go over it. The way I think I'm gonna position the fan or mount the fans, I'm thinking I'm gonna put a riv nut here and here somewhere, depending where the fan sits, and run aluminum L bracket all the way across, and then picking up 2 brackets off of these latch. This is for your hood. So picking up 2 points, support points from here and here to support the L bracket to give it some stiffness, and then mounting the fans up at the top right here, and doing same thing at the bottom, riv nut on both sides and running an L bracket and possibly picking up a middle support so it's all nice and sturdy, and then mounting the fans flush right here on both sides. So I think 14-inch fans, they're gonna be pretty close to each other as far as like distance between them. But I'm not gonna make any cuts just yet until I get the fans and I can mock them up and see what happens. And once we cut, most of this is gonna be gone. And this is as far as I'm gonna be able to push the fans against this, push the radiator against this support right here. So everything on the inside, which is all these reinforcing bars, I'm gonna notch them all the way down as far as I can go. I'm not gonna get rid of them completely, but they're gonna be pretty short. So my condenser and my radiator are gonna be able to go forward as much as possible. Same thing goes for the bottom. These holes here, this is gonna get probably cut off, and then once this is all cut, I'm gonna drill new holes in this area somewhere to put my rubber isolators right here. So this is all gonna go away. I'm gonna shave this down as low as possible, and I think that's gonna work out well, as good as it can in at this time. But for right now, I'm gonna go and gap my spark plugs like I told you. I'm gonna gap them down to 22 thousandths, so and get them all installed. I fixed that coil pack little issue, so we're gonna see how that's gonna work out. Hopefully it's all good. And the turbo's back, so I'll tell you here as soon as I get the coil packs installed. I'm actually gonna pull the turbo out of the box, and I told you what the Precision called and told me what they found with it. So let me get these spark plugs gapped, installed, coil packs back in, and then we'll jump to the turbo. Found some of these little spacers that actually hold the coil to the plate to be loose, like this one right here. So what I want to do before I actually remove them, because the screw is on the back side of it, so it's sitting like this with the screw facing down, I want to remove them and put a little Loctite on them so they don't come loose, because I don't want my coils to be vibrating as I'm driving. So I got this Loctite medium strength right here. So I'm going to remove them all right now, put a little Loctite on them, and then get them screwed in nice and snug. Alright, so all these now are nice and snug. We've got the Loctite on them, that's ready to go. Now I'm just going to use, I don't have a metal plate, so I'm just going to use the base of this, or the side of this hammer, to kind of tap on these. So this one I already did, this one's at 22 thousandths. So I'm just going to do the rest of these guys, and we're going to get them in. Alright, so everything's back installed. All the spark plugs and all the coil packs are in. So this is all nice and tight. So hopefully the issue from last time where we found that spring being loose and the little contactor was off to the side and it fell off basically when I pulled the coil pack off is gonna fix the rough idle issue. So we'll see about that when the car fires up. So this is all tight. And now guys, here is the turbo. It is back. It is nice and clean. Precision cleaned it up real nice. So if you remember what it looked like last time, this almost, from all the heat, it looked like rusty. But they made it look pretty again. So here it is. And here is the list. I'm not going to read everything off, but here's the list of everything that they changed and upgraded. So that's good. The turbo took exactly a week from the time I shipped it. I shipped it on Tuesday and I got it back the following Tuesday. So I overnighted it there and they shipped ground. Yeah, they shipped the ground back over here to my house. So when the guy did call me back from the service department, and basically he told me the problem was that I roasted the O-rings for the feed line. I basically cooked them, and when he took the turbo apart, they completely fell apart in pieces. So he kind of asked me if I had like a vented hood or I had a heat blanket on the turbo, and I told him the hood is not vented. And I do have a heat blanket on the turbo itself. So what he recommended is basically I need the ventilation and get rid of the heat blanket because it was basically cooking the turbo. So as we all know, I still have the OEM hood. You can see it right behind me. It's not vented, and I did purchase a new hood, so that is coming next week. So stay tuned for that. I'm not gonna say what kind of hood it is, but it should be pretty cool. And I'm gonna get rid of my heat blanket, and I also ordered a 25-row oil cooler from Mishimoto. When it comes in, I'll show you guys where I'm gonna put it, and there's gonna be more modifications that will need to be done to get that in, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm gonna call it a day on this one, guys. That's all the time that I have for you tonight. So please stay safe and keep improving your build. Take it easy.